Hey everybody, how are you? This is our third live Facebook chat. Can you believe it? We've had kind of a crazy fall, actually, when you think about it, with the web show and a lot of things going on here at CBS News. I'm here with Couric, who's the anchor and managing editor of the CBS Evening News, and she's going to be answering your questions today.
And this is Tony Masilis, by the way, producer extraordinaire, and we're sort of the Steve and Edie of Facebook, right?
We are, yeah.
Nobody who's on Facebook knows who Steve and Edie are, except, grandmothers are on Facebook now. Do you think Facebook will jump the shark because so many old people are on it? You know, like me?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I know you've said that you think your daughters think it's a little weird that you're on Facebook alongside them.
Yeah, they think it's like super creepy. Yeah, they don't approve at all, but what are you going to do?
Well, a lot of questions are coming in.
Sort of par for the course.
I want to make sure we get to a bunch of them.
Okay.
We had basically solicited questions on a specific topic, which was basically big thoughts about the decade, what were the big news stories, what questions do people have about those news stories. A lot of the questions are on that, but a lot are on all different things as well, so we kind of see where it takes us.
Let's have Adam.
All right. Here's a good question to start out with from Nazir. She wants to know, what do you think was the biggest news event of the decade?
Well, I think most people are in agreement, and Tony, we just actually completed a decade panel where we had a number of people, 3 journalists talk about this, and I think just in preparing for that panel and reading all sort of the year-ender and decade-ender pieces, I mean, I think there's universal agreement that 9/11 was the most life-altering, earth-shattering event that we faced as a nation, I think, in the last decade, if not in the last several decades. And, you know, that's a story that really hits close to home for me, Tony, because, you know, I was on the air at the Today Show as it was unfolding. In fact, for the first time this year, I watched the rebroadcast, the minute-by-minute rebroadcast on MSNBC. It was sort of too hard for me to watch it for many years, and it was just chilling to see how, you know, all these events unfolded one after the other. Obviously, the first plane, then the second plane, then the Shanksville plane, and the Pentagon plane. And it was just so eerie. But of course, it was the end of innocence for the United States as a country in terms of not having any kind of clear-cut enemy, but having sort of the dark cloud of terrorism over our heads 24/7. And you know, people have asked me about covering that story that day, and my adrenaline was flowing so much, and I felt so much responsibility for staying calm and imparting the information in a sort of measured way. But I think actually the days following it, I mean, I was in such a state of shock, I think. It's okay for me to look at you and not just look at the camera, right?
I think we can do whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey.
I was in such a state of shock the day it happened. I remember calling my parents, who live not far from the Pentagon, and telling them during a commercial break to get into the basement, go into their basement, because I just didn't know what was coming next. A lot of people said, were you worried about your girls? But oddly, I felt like school, you know, where they go to school was a very safe place. I didn't have the impulse, like a lot of parents did, to go and yank their kids out of school. I sort of wanted them to be in that protected environment. But I remember the days following 9/11 were just so excruciatingly painful and heartbreaking, as all those desperate people were looking for their relatives. And to me, just sort of the not knowing, the anguish of not hearing from a loved one, it was just so hard to hear them and to give them any kind of hope, because you knew that probably odds were that the person they were looking for or waiting to hear from, they would never have that opportunity again.
I remember the people just walking through the streets with photos, you know, and walking up to anybody. I was working at MSNBC at the time, and so of course we all had to go down there at one point or another, and that was the most heartbreaking thing. You know, the people would come up to you and they think because you're working near a camera that you might know some information and show you pictures. Have you seen this person? Do you know this person? I mean, that just really was very heartbreaking.
And that the night after it happened, of course, you know, you think about all the people leaping to their deaths. And I remember, I live a fair amount away. I live in the city, but not that close to the Twin Towers. But I remember this acrid, pungent smell of burnt plastic permeating the atmosphere, and people walking around my neighborhood with candles and having these impromptu candlelight vigils. It was one of the most profound experiences I've ever had. And of course, people in New York and all across the country, I know, felt the same way.
On the same topic, Matthew Owen Fish actually asks, how do you think 9/11 changed our lives?
Well, I think, as I said, I think it was the end of innocence, and suddenly we were very vulnerable. It led to clearly to wars that this country has been engaged in during the better part of this decade, first Afghanistan and then Iraq. I think it led to a feeling around the world after there was great unity following 9/11. Some countries feeling that the United States was too strong or too arrogant in terms of their military actions. And I think it changed sort of the nature of when we get involved in war, i.e. the Bush Doctrine. And so I think it also changed our intelligence system, hopefully for the better, in terms of being more aware of terrorism kind of growing in all different places through the internet. Sort of virtual Afghanistan exists now. Terrorists are not only in Afghanistan, they're in Yemen, Somalia, they're in the United States, they're everywhere.
All over the world.
And I think it just made us much more aware that there are people hell-bent on destroying the United States and our way of life. And, I think that's when politics come in and what is the best way of dealing with this. I think education, quite frankly, is one of the most impactful ways we can affect the growth of terrorism, because I think if you give people education and economic opportunities, it makes them less, predisposed to fall in the hands of terrorists or to feel helpless and to kind of vent their frustration through violent means. But how do you educate the entire world? That's something that the United States is in no position to do, given the situation here at home.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very long-winded answer. I'm
sorry.
No,
but it was a good answer.
Well, thank you, Tony.
Yeah, well, there
thank
you
very much.
We're also bringing in some questions from Twitter, actually, and I think this is kind of an interesting question because it gets to the point of, you were talking about post 9/11, how really it brought sort of people together, and it was this amazing moment of outpouring of support. But do you think, this is from a guy named Losing John, sorry you lost John, as a nation, have we grown closer or more distant in the past decade?
I think more distant. I hate to say that, but I think the economic situation in this country, I think when people are struggling, that sometimes they need a place to vent their rage and to channel their rage. And I feel like right now, in many ways, we're a very angry nation, very frustrated, troubled, and disappointed in many ways in terms of people feeling that the American dream just isn't within their reach. I mean, I still think it's a place of incredible opportunity and entrepreneurship, but I just think that, I don't know, maybe it's because of what I do for a living. I feel that the country is pretty polarized right now. And whenever I think it's not going to get more polarized, it seems to. And I'm all for people having free speech and expressing their views, and we've talked about this a lot, and I hate to sound like a broken record, but I wish there was a way for all of us to discuss our differences without digging in our heels so much and being respectful of other people's points of view. But it all seems to be expressed through kind of a prism of anger and disgust and disrespect, which I find really troubling and upsetting.
This is actually a topic that a lot of people commented on Facebook. Willis Courtwright didn't so much have a question, but did have a comment about the fact that he thinks one thing that was significant about this decade was the division that's happened within the country, the split between Democrats and Republicans. In our upcoming web show on the decade, which is actually going to be next week online, we have a great panel, right? Nancy Gibbs, Kurt Loder, Peter David. That was one topic that you talked to them about this sort of polarization of the political process and how it seems like nothing can really get done because there's...
Yeah, well, I think that's true. I mean, we did see health care pass, but, it seems like everything is used, policy issues are used as political footballs more than anything else. And that the party in power, tries to get their agenda through. Ostensibly, I guess that's the right thing to do if they're the party in power and they're the people who were elected, while the party out of power tends to be obstructionists. And I think I think it must be very frustrating for people outside the Beltway, including myself, to watch transpire because, there doesn't seem to be much compromise. Well, there was a lot of compromise in the health care bill, but much dialogue, I guess, in terms of what each side would want. And maybe I'm naive and idealistic, but you would hope that there could be some conversations taking place where people, really respected one another and talked about the different goals that they had. Because I think providing health care for people who can't afford it is something that most people do agree with, that there has to be some kind of alternative other than our nation's emergency rooms for people who need health care. And I read somewhere, I think it was in the New Yorker, that 45,000 people died needlessly because they simply don't have access to health care. And that just seems so unfair and so undemocratic. But I think that there are a lot of concerns about the legislation and how it was hammered out, and some of the gifts that were not gifts, but some of the quid pro quo, at least ostensibly it appeared that way, given to certain states to win over support from those senators. That just seems ultimately, I think, implicitly unfair in terms of how the system works.
I'm just laughing because Reg Griffin out there is saying, let's get personal. We have a few personal questions that are coming in, and I'll ask a few of them in a bit.
Well, I have a personal statement. I think I should probably never wear Uggs on television or on the internet because they look really strange. But go ahead. But they're warm and comfortable.
How can you even see that they look strange? I don't see them on it.
Because see, on a two-shot, you can see my Uggs.
Yeah,
they look gigantic,
bit, huh?
Right? Anyway.
Oh, well, it's really
fashion
cold
faux
outside.
pas. Sorry, everyone. I won't do this again. These used to be in for a while,
I think they're still in when it's this cold.
Yeah,
I mean,
maybe
you really
you're right.
don't have,
Let's get personal.
Yeah, we've got some personal questions that are coming in, which we'll ask in a little bit. Nothing too personal.
Okay.
But before we get to personal questions about Katie and Katie's life, I did want to ask a couple of these broader questions that I think are interesting. A guy named Michael Wilkin actually says, in regards to Tiger Woods and the coverage that story has gotten, pretty much everywhere, including on the national broadcasts, network broadcasts. Maybe instead of dealing with tabloid stories, the national news should focus on issues affecting the nation, stay off of stories like Tiger Woods. I'm just curious to hear what your take is on how important is it to tell a story like Tiger Woods in a network broadcast, and when do you do it and when do you not?
Well, I hope we haven't gone overboard. I think we've done it when there's been a significant development. For example, if one of his major sponsors has decided to, stop using his image in advertising, I think we've deemed that important enough. I think we've done probably three Tiger Woods stories, and given the amount of coverage it's gotten elsewhere, I think we've been pretty judicious about it. I feel bad for everyone involved in that story. I think it's heartbreaking. I think what's so shocking about it is the sheer number of dalliances that he apparently engaged in. And, I was at, I think it was at Walter Cronkite's funeral service, and Howard Stringer, who used to be president, or used to be the executive producer of the Evening News and now CEO of Sony. I guess I got Howard's title right, but he's so smart and so erudite. And he talked about the white hot flame of the white hot spotlight of fame that can burn as much as illuminate. And I thought that really struck me, because I think when you become someone of Tiger Woods' stature, and I think his whole image, which was, I guess, a facade, was based on being so upstanding and such a kind of, morally upstanding guy, that when this unfolds, I think the one thing that people can't stand is hypocrisy. And I think because his public persona and his image were so counter to his obvious personal behavior, that I think that's why people just, it was red meat for a lot of these tabloids. I think it was overdone, but, I think people have a lot of interest in it. There's a lot of prurient interest in it. And I think, getting back to the original question, that I think 3 stories about it isn't necessarily excessive. And I think they were done pretty well and tastefully, given the subject matter.
This, I think, is actually sort of an interesting follow to any conversation about Tiger. This is from a guy named NZ Downs, who wants to know, why do you think people confuse admiration for exceptional athletic ability with exceptional human qualities?
Well, I think it wasn't that he was. I got the impression, again, I don't follow golf that much, and I really didn't have that much exposure to Tiger Woods, but I think he was not only an exceptional athlete, he appeared to be an exceptional human being. Exceptional, I mean, I guess that's
or a good guy, at least.
A good guy, an upstanding guy, someone who loved his wife, a family man,
right.
Someone who had value, strong family values, somebody who, had a very close personal relationship with his father. Mm-hmm. He just sort of exuded class and elegance. Now, sometimes I think we ascribe those qualities to people who don't necessarily deserve them because mm-hmm. maybe it's their appearance or the way they carry themselves. Mm-hmm. So I think that in many ways, it wasn't just athleticism in his case. He seemed to be living a way that we could admire. I don't know. That's my impression.
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's true. I think this is a really good question, actually, from a guy named David Sowles. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. You might have to think about this one for a second, though.
Oh, please don't make me think, Tony. God.
I don't know if something like this would just pop into your head, but from the past year, all the many interviews that you did, mm-hmm. was there one where you walked away wishing you would have asked that one extra question?
Well, this is the problem with me. That's actually a good question because I always feel that way. I'm always the kind of person who says, oh, shoot, I should have done this, or when the person responded this way, I should have followed up that way. So I don't think there ever is an interview that I've done where I feel like, that was great. I asked everything I could because, the fact of the matter is you always have time restraints when you're doing interviews, even if they're longer interviews for 60 Minutes or longer interviews for the evening news. Not that I can think of. I know when I interviewed President Obama not that long ago, there were some additional questions that I wish I had time to get to, mm-hmm. But I didn't, and I can't remember them right off the top of my head right now.
That's often more because you do go in very prepared with a lot of things in your head that you want to ask. But I mean, sometimes you really just have a finite amount of time.
It's really hard because, you're doing interviews like that because you're listening to the answer. You have to be cognizant of the time. The cameraman is giving you like 10 minutes by the camera. So you're thinking, 10 minutes, but I have 22 more questions. And usually before an interview, I'll circle questions that can be omitted or skipped mm-hmm. if I'm running into time problems, which inevitably I will. So it's really hard because as you're kind of figuring out the timing of everything and getting the questions in, you also, P.S., have to listen to every answer and kind of think think quickly and ask a follow-up that's appropriate,
mm-hmm. Here's a good question, actually. A guy named Larry wants to know if you felt misled by the White House party crashers.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was talking to them. They were standing in line near me. I think everyone felt misled. First of all, you have to understand the environment, the atmosphere there was kind of not a party atmosphere, but I think people were excited to be there. It was
sure.
The president's first state dinner. There were a lot of dignitaries there, and I chatted with them briefly. I told her I thought she had a beautiful gown.
What did they say they were? Did they say anything about themselves?
She just said, I said, where did you get your dress? And I think she said, I actually got it in India. I think she might have said Calcutta, but I can't really remember. And we were kind of waiting in line, and she said, can we take your picture? And I mean, that happens sometimes, so I didn't think anything. And people, I remember somebody tweeting me like, you must feel really stupid. Not at all. I mean, the fact of the matter was, you're not at a state dinner walking around saying, why are you here? Or, are you a campaign contributor? I mean, it would just never cross your mind to think that, first of all, to have the arrogance to question someone's presence there. It's just bizarre. But I remember finally getting into the reception room because there was a long line through the hallway, and you checked your coat, and I asked them if I could get them a glass of champagne. I was very, very, very gracious and cordial to the party crashers. And she introduced her husband and said that he had something to do with polo. I know nothing about polo. I know that may come as a shock to you, but
exactly.
something about going to see a polo match and something about Brazil. I mean, again, it's crazy and noisy, so it's not as if you really are kind of digesting everything that you're seeing and hearing. And then he said, no, I'll go to the bar. And I remember him doing this kind of like do-si-do over to the bar and thinking, wow, he's kind of silly. But that was really pretty much it. It was just very, very small talk and banter. But everybody was sort of jazzed to be there.
Sure. And I'm sure you didn't know everybody in the room, so it could be...
No, I didn't know a lot of people in the room. I mean, I did recognize many of the senators and members of Congress and cabinet officials who were there, people who had been involved in the campaign who are now working at the White House. But certainly there were a ton of people who I had no idea who they were. I was thinking I should have brought my flip camera, though, because how great would it have been if I had...
Would you be allowed to?
Well, first of all, I didn't think so. I thought that was tacky, but apparently technology is no longer tacky, Tony.
Oh, I see.
And that's very alliterative.
That's good, yeah.
But a lot of people brought their cameras. A lot of people brought their Blackberries. They were taking pictures. They were Blackberrying at dinner. I thought that is so beyond rude, but I guess it's pretty accepted now. And people were actually, so I had the guy sitting next to me take a couple of photos for me, and then I actually tweeted them.
I imagine a lot of the people that are in that room are not the types that know how to put those Blackberries down anyway, right?
Yeah,
You got a lot of journalists, a lot of politicians.
I thought it was sort of poor form, but I regretted the fact that I didn't bring my flip camera because I was thinking I probably would have talked to them with my flip, although that probably would have been a little over the top. But I would have said, tell me who you are, why you're here. And can you imagine? That would have been very valuable video the next day.
Oh, that's a viral video, man. Yeah, that's the right stuff.
Next time.
Okay, Gio wants to know, what is your comfort food?
Oh.
We're just a big veritable potpourri of topics today,
my favorite food in the world are chocolate chip cookies. Those are my comfort food. And chocolate chip cookie dough. Not very good for you, though.
Like just right out of the bowl? Or like the tube?
Yeah. No. Homemade. Yeah. Oof. I don't like the slice and bake. Sugar cookies are good, slice and bake. But I would say chocolate chip cookies. I also like meatloaf and mashed potatoes. My brother-in-law used to call that hitting and holding food.
I think that's really good.
I try to avoid it when I can.
Definitely. Pat Wallace wants to know, how are you adjusting to having a daughter in college?
Well, the fact of the matter is she's not that far away. So Ellie's come home for a couple weekends. And, whenever I'm missing her so much, I always feel like, gosh, I'm, so happy for her. She's enjoying herself. She's learning to live independently. I mean, what do they say? You raise them to give them wings or something cheesy like that.
Roots and wings.
Yeah.
It's very Maya Angelou of you.
Yeah, thank you. It's actually Maya Angelou. Do you know everyone says her name wrong? Yeah, it's true. Learn something new every day. So, but I really miss her terribly. But I'm just so happy that she's having these new experiences, and she calls me a lot, and we talk a lot. But I'm not one of those helicopter moms. I'm not on email and calling her all the time. I just don't think that's healthy. I want her to kind of be on her own and be as independent as she can. So we sometimes go 2 or 3 days without talking, and but I'm really glad that she's home for the holidays.
And actually,
by the way, I almost started crying during that Folgers commercial the other day. Did you see the Folgers commercial? I know, it's really pathetic. I don't know, what can I say? I might be hormonal. But did you see the Folgers commercial? That brother comes home from West Africa. He's clearly like in the Peace Corps or some kind of, international aid worker or something. He comes home, and his little sister is there, and he gives her a little present, like some kind of African handicraft, and then she puts the bow on the present on him, and she says, "You're my present."
Oh, I have seen that one.
It is the sweetest ad, isn't it? Did it make you cry at all?
No, the cotton commercials make me cry. You know that
really?
song?
The touch, the feel?
Touch, the feel. Okay, we'll leave it at that.
I don't really get that.
You cried at a Folgers commercial.
I did. I mean, I don't think it was full out waterworks, but I did get a little verklempt.
Right. Well, it's that time it's the holidays.
Yeah.
People are
what?
home.
One thing I was sort of appreciating about the holidays recently, I think I had too much coffee, by the way, is, I think for just a moment in time, people aren't as cynical. And I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
People can be warm and caring and loving and compassionate and completely unembarrassed by that.
But why can't we do that all year round?
Well, I do. No, I'm kidding. But, I don't know. I just feel like we live in such a cynical age. To be able to just be out there with positive feelings and feelings of compassion and generosity and caring for your fellow man and woman, I just think it's a nice break from that. I'm sorry, I just wanted to share that.
No, I mean, I think that's true. And actually, that reminds me of, you just recently tweeted on Twitter a message about having your parents home.
Yeah.
Or with you at your place. And a lot of mommy bloggers commented on it. I think a lot of people in their 30s and 40s whose parents are getting a little older can relate to it. There were several people who commented, Sherry 1972, Sherry Bowberry, Banana Fana. It's something that I think about more.
I think that was like 1968, but go ahead,
yeah. It's something that I think about more and more. She says, my dad was always a big, strong, tough cop. He's now 83, looks frail, and it's kind of scary.
It is. I think there's such a spectrum of emotions when you see your parents age. I think, sometimes they can be really frustrating. Like my mom, who I love so much, and we're very, very close, as I am with my dad. She can't really hear very well and refuses to wear a hearing aid because it's uncomfortable. So that's very, I think it should be frustrating for her, which I know it is, because you feel like you can't participate in the world as well. And it's also very frustrating for the people around her, because sometimes she feigns as if she can hear and says yes or nods her head, and then we'll continue the conversation, and it's clear that she didn't hear the first part of it. And then my mom's 86, my dad's 89, and he has Parkinson's, and I can relate to what Sherry was saying, because I think it is hard when you're a child and you have someone protecting you and sort of looking out for you. And I got some tweets about this, there is a role reversal that goes on when your parents get older in terms of who's caring for whom. And, it's hard, because I think my dad is so smart. You would love talking to my dad. He's just got an incredible memory. He's incredibly well-read, and he is as sharp as a tack. But, Parkinson's is a neurological disorder, and it makes it hard to walk. It makes it hard for him to enunciate things and to speak out clearly. It affects your salivary glands, I think, in a way, because it affects your swallowing. And it's hard because, again, he's so sharp, but I think it prevents him from enjoying the world around him as much as he could. The medications make him tired. So, it's just a part of life, I guess. But I also think it makes you come face to face with your own mortality when you start seeing your parents really aging. It just makes you very cognizant of the passage of time. It's hard.
Actually, someone, EW Monster is the screen name, actually had a comment about that the reverse is probably true in their minds. This person writes, you ever wonder if they think the same thing about us? It's hard to see us get older, because that must, as a parent, if your kids are getting bigger and bigger and bigger and, becoming adults, you're not 35 years old anymore.
Well, I feel that way with my kids, and I think I've even heard my mom comment, like, I can't believe my youngest daughter is... Oh, I'm sorry. There's something in my throat. Almost 53. I'll be 53 on January 7th if you guys want to, wish me a happy birthday or anything.
Any big plans for the birthday?
No, well, I was thinking about maybe doing a karaoke party, because we had a Christmas party here at CBS, and it's amazing what a karaoke machine and a few martinis can do for a crowd, right?
Oh,
it was so much fun. There were a lot of songs I forgot to request, like the Isley Brothers, This Old Heart of Mine. I was thinking about that today. I forgot to request one of my favorite songs. There are many days
of karaoke.
Yeah, so I was thinking that might be fun to do a sort of a replay of that. Or I really want to go out dancing with some friends, because I don't get to do that very often. And a friend of mine is a good friend of RuPaul's. And so I'm trying to see if RuPaul will come to New York and go dancing with us. And she also knows all these dance, choreographers who do a lot
Nothing says 53 like a night at a drag bar, yeah.
So don't you think that would be really fun?
Sure.
So that's my idea. Oh, and I want to also, before we go dancing, I want to play Salad Bowl, because that's one of my favorite games, and I'm uber competitive, where you put names in a bowl and then you trade with the teams, and then you have a minute to give clues, and then your team has to guess who your person is. I don't know why I love that game so much.
So is it like a drinking game?
No, it has nothing to do with alcohol.
No,
nothing. In fact, alcohol
I'm thinking
can
that's like
your
you're pre-gaming, playing Salad Bowl before you head out to the drag bar.
It's just really fun. And it's kind of, stimulating intellectually. Not that stimulating, but, you might have to say Benazir Bhutto, and you have to be able to, you can't say her name, but you have to say who she was.
Things about her,
very quickly, because you only have a minute to get as many names, through as many names as you can.
Well, you know what? I say when we do our 4th Facebook chat in the brand new year, we can have people submit their Salad Bowl clues.
Their Salad Bowl names, and then you and I can do it?
And then we'll do it. Or better yet, I think if they submit their clues, and then you guess who they're talking about, maybe.
All right, that's a lot of pressure.
Highly interactive
that's a lot of pressure.
Chats. Here's a good question. David Hancock, I know who he is.
You do?
Yes, I do. He's somebody who actually works for the CBS Corporation, but I think that's fair. We can take a question from somebody out there. David wants to know, what are your New Year's resolutions?
What are they? I haven't really made any yet. Usually every year I say write more thank you notes, floss more often, and lose 10 pounds. So I don't know. I think maybe go to church more, because I'm pretty sporadic about my attendance. And I really enjoy going, because I really like our minister, because he gives very meaningful sermons. I don't know. I haven't thought about it, but I'll get back to you on that. I don't really know. I haven't. Do you have any New Year's resolutions?
I'm not making any.
No?
No, because you know what? It just leads to disappointment, because I never keep them.
I'm thinking about, I'm thinking about trying to run the marathon next fall.
Ooh, that's a good one.
But I'm a little afraid of making that commitment, because that's a big commitment. And I'm the kind of person, if I run around the track one time, I feel like I'm going to cough up a lung. I was never good at distance running. I was a sprinter when I was a kid, when I was in high school. I was actually the third leg on the 440 relay team. Third in the state of Virginia. I was the slowest leg, but at least I was part of a good relay team. But so I'd like to train for the marathon, but as I said, I'm just not ready to make a commitment. But I think it would be great to raise money for cancer research through the marathon.
That's a great way to do it, yeah. I don't know that
I went and watched it
marathons are
this
the
year.
healthiest thing for people, though.
Well, they say it's not so good for your knees. But I tell you, I went and watched this year. I just was on the sidelines, and I actually saw the cutest girl, believe it or not, at church. I'm sounding like Miss Religion here.
But seriously.
I know, I'm
like,
sorry.
Who is this person sitting next to me?
Sorry. But I saw this girl at church on Sunday, and she said, you know what? I saw you cheering me on at the marathon on the sidelines, and you really inspired me to keep going. I said, that is so nice.
It is a really fun thing. I've had friends who've run the marathon. I haven't done it, but when my friend
maybe
Leah
you'll do it with me.
Maybe.
Lindsley, maybe you'll do it with us.
Oh,
Lindsley is our stage manager. She's also a professional bodybuilder.
Oh, yeah, no, she's step in front of the camera. No. Oh, okay, never mind. Michael Boda wants to know, what's your fondest memory of high school?
My fondest memory of high school. Well, I had actually a fun high school experience. Fondest memory. Maybe going to the prom with Ernie Sanders and wearing an all-white dress.
Yeah, with a big floppy hat.
With a big white floppy
hat.
And he wore white tails.
Yeah.
That was really fun.
Way
and Ernie, I know, that's really creepy that you remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I also think maybe it was when I was in our high school musical, Carnival. Do you know Carnival?
Sure, I know
Love
them all.
makes the world. You do? Yes. Why am I not surprised? But no, I actually auditioned for my high school musical.
Reference past me, lady.
and I was cast as a deaf mute. And I thought that was really insulting.
Typecasting.
I feel like I could, I thought I would be cast as a lead. Lack of confidence was never a real issue for me. But I got cast as a deaf mute,
so I had. Thought this is a real learning experience for
It was actually a guy named Timothy Jekyll who was later on some Burger King commercials. Anyway,
wow.
So he ended up casting me as a dancing bear instead. So I did gymnastics on the stage.
Fun.
And got to sing a little bit, but not only in the chorus.
Hey, a lot of people say they like your boots, by the way. I don't know if they're just being nice.
Oh, thank you guys. Well, they're actually my daughters, but they are warm and cozy. Thank you.
Yeah, so
the Uggs
some
are
people
ugly,
like them.
aren't they? But they're comfortable.
I think they're meant more for function than style.
No, I
though,
think
right?
you're right. But remember when they first came out and they'd show them in Hollywood with girls in like little summer dresses and Uggs?
Yeah,
remember
like
that?
Pamela Anderson
or like
would
Kate
wear like
Hudson
Uggs
would
in
wear
LA.
them, but she looked good in anything.
Yeah.
I'm very upset about her and A-Rod, by the way.
Why?
I don't know. I just thought they seemed really happy, and she seemed to be great for his baseball career.
Because he's got such a great
think
track
I'm
record
so
with women, you know, you thought, oh, this one's definitely going to work
Well, I
out.
don't know. You know, sometimes there's a lid for every pot, as they say. And I thought I thought they seemed like a cute couple, and I was disappointed. I don't even know if they're broken up, but I saw her in the ladies' room at Yankee Stadium. We chatted.
Oh,
Yeah.
was she nice?
She's really nice. Yeah.
What'd you talk about?
She said, Alex really likes you because I interviewed him for 60
Yes,
Minutes when
that
he
was
wasn't
actually
very
a
forthcoming
very famous
with me
interview,
about
or became a very famous interview. Yeah.
his steroid use. But I said, oh, that's nice. Give him my best. I'm really happy for you all. I hope you're having a good time together. And that's all. It was
he
pretty,
actually
pretty
apologized
brief.
to you.
He
for
did. He
that
wrote me a
moment.
note apologizing for not being truthful, which I thought was
That's nice. Yeah.
a classy thing to do after a kind of unfortunate exchange.
Yeah. Well, how about that? Here's a good question. We've been talking about this a lot from Ken Tab. How do you think cell phones have changed the culture this decade?
Well, I think texting and Blackberries, I guess people use, my daughters use Blackberries as their cell phones. It's so weird because teenagers don't actually talk anymore. They just text.
Right.
And, where was I with Ellie recently? And she was texting. And I said, Ellie, put that away. Oh, we went to see a play. I took my parents to see Finian's Rainbow. And Ellie was sort of texting, during the play. I was like, are you kidding me? Put that away. I think that people don't really know the boundaries of when to use technology. And, I often see people walking down the street texting and they almost run full on into you. But I worry, again, I sound like such a fuddy-duddy, but I worry about our ability to socialize and interact in reading people's cues visually, being able to talk to them, picking up things they might be saying with their eyes or with body language.
Well, there have been studies. I mean, I'm sure that there probably are studies on that as well. But the things that interest me the most is that with the younger people start texting, the less sort of cognitive ability they have necessarily, like when it comes to the grammar and writing and things like that, because they sort of start at a very early age, like not really completing full sentences, and it can be a bad thing.
Right. Well, I think emotional intelligence is so important to anyone's success, your ability to relate, interact with people, be positive, be able to deliver bad news in a way that is sensitive and caring. And I think that sometimes this is having a negative impact on the development of people's emotional intelligence. I don't know, though.
Here's a good question about Lil Wayne. What did you make of your interview with Lil Wayne?
It's
Greg
so
Cook
funny
wants to know.
how much that interview with Lil Wayne
was
resonated.
Like everywhere.
Well, I think particularly among like 15 to 25-year-olds.
Why
a
do
lot
you think
of
so?
kids.
Because a lot of other people have interviewed Lil Wayne. I mean, why do you think
he's
that
done
one really
many
stuck,
interviews, has he?
though?
I think it was probably the casting. I mean, here I was, like, this nerd in a cardigan interviewing Lil Wayne.
You were wearing like
I
a
was
little,
wearing kind of a Mr. Rogers thing.
You went bowling with him, right?
I did go bowling. He said he was a really good bowler, but quite frankly, it was a disappointing showing by Lil Wayne. He wasn't that good. There were a few gutter balls in there. But he has his own bowling ball, his own bowling shoes. Can you tell how hyped up I am in this interview? What's going on here? I'm feeling very
I
hyper.
don't know.
But anyway, I thought
What
he
is it
was
all
a
about?
highly
Is it me? Is it
intelligent
my
guy.
magnetism?
I thought he was a very smart guy. Quite frankly, I don't really understand or appreciate the rap culture. So I'm probably not a good person to evaluate him. But I thought he was actually very gentlemanly. That's kind of an oxymoron, Lil Wayne as gentlemanly, but I'll never forget when he said, "I'm a gangsta, Miss Katie." I mean, how often do you hear that in one
Where
sentence?
do you think all that comes from in him, though?
I don't know. I think probably he's a marketing genius in some ways.
Yeah.
He knows what sells. I think he is a real artist and very talented in his own right. Just the things that he does don't necessarily resonate with me musically, but I really appreciated that he came to play. When I said, "Show me around your face, give me a tour of your face," because he's so covered with tattoos and they all mean different things. But he, he was an honors student in high school, so I think he is a very intelligent guy, and I think he's using it to amass a personal fortune.
Mm-hmm. Corey wants to know, what advice would you offer to young, aspiring journalists right now?
Don't do it. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I would say, a lot of people ask that question, and I would say that it's Corey, yeah, Corey?
Corey, yeah.
That, there's certain skills, I think, that you want to develop as a journalist, no matter where you use them, be it on the internet, be it, in television, documentaries, radio. And I think those, you hope the quality of those will remain constant. So I would say go someplace, first of all, that has a pretty strong web component, because clearly this is the wave of the future, and maybe they'll be more integrated and you'll be able to watch the web on your television on the web, which of course you can already do to a certain extent, but you can't really watch that much web on your TV. I guess some people do hook up the web, but that's not that commonplace yet, right?
Well, I'm sure not everybody's doing it. But
yeah.
Most new TVs, though, you can hook up.
Yeah. So, but I think you always want to learn how to be a good writer, a critical thinker. You want to be able to communicate things clearly and succinctly, and I'd say anywhere you work where people are really accomplished at that and good at that is a positive thing that will help you apply those skills, no matter where the media landscape or how the media landscape shifts in the future. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah, definitely. I think
do we have any more
time?
Time?
At a point where we're about ready to, yeah, I mean, there are actually a ton of questions still
pouring
in.
We have time for me, because we started late.
Yeah.
And we promised 45 minutes, and I know people are going to be really disappointed if we don't go
Right, exactly. The questions are definitely still in. Oh, okay, Tammy wants to know if Dancing with the Stars is really in your future.
Oh, I kidded around about that. I mean, I'd like to do it because it forces you to lose weight and get in shape. So that would be a great motivator.
It is true, though. They all come out looking great.
I know,
everybody
it's amazing.
Who's on that show.
And then they stop and they blow up. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. But,
I was a big Kelly Osbourne fan this time
You know what?
around.
For whatever reason, this season I didn't find particularly compelling. I mean, I did like Kelly Osbourne.
But you like Donny Osmond.
I like Donny Osmond, but other seasons I would always kind of say, "Oh, it's on tonight," because I don't watch that much television, and I'd be like, "Oh, Dancing with the Stars is on," and I'd watch. But for some reason, I didn't watch regularly.
Show.
I think I liked last season because I like Gilles.
Yeah. Oh, Gilles Marini.
Oh. Hello?
Yeah.
He was first of all, okay, I mean, seriously. But he was also such a beautiful, skilled dancer, and he was also so humble about it. Married and had kids. He seemed really nice.
Maya was like that. My God, this is a really weird conversation. But anyway, to wrap up our Dancing with the Stars moment.
I mean, I was kidding. I don't think I would ever do it, but I do like to dance. And may I say this?
Yes, you can say whatever you want. It's your Facebook chat.
I'm a pretty good dancer, don't you think, Tony?
She is an excellent dancer.
It's from my gymnastics background,
yes.
Maybe. But I do love to dance, and I can bust a move.
Wide variety of dance. Yes, people are aware. Definitely.
Anyway, moving on.
No, actually,
Let's
it's water, not vodka.
It's water. It's water.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Michael, thank you so much. We are only drinking water. We're just like this. We're high on life.
Yes, we are.
There was one good one here that I thought, do you have time to watch TV? What do you watch?
Not much time and not much television, but I like Mad Men. I just realized that I did a thing with my remote control. I could find all seasons of Mad Men on my TV, and I just watched that. Someone told me you couldn't do that with Mad Men. You had to buy the DVDs.
Well, it must be on demand somewhere.
It's on demand somewhere, but I found it, so that was exciting. So I like Mad Men. I like 60 Minutes, of course. I always watch the CBS Evening News. What else is on TV these days?
Oh, Glee.
Oh, I love Glee.
Yeah.
I love Glee. I have such a crush on the teacher in Glee, who, by the way, was in South Pacific.
Right.
I couldn't figure
out. She means
out
the choir director, not the gym teacher.
Yeah. Oh, but I love her too. I want to do a profile on her.
She's terrific.
What's
her name is Jane Lynch.
Jane Lynch. Remember we talked about? Can we do her for Katie Couric?
Yeah.
She is so great. She was in The 40-Year-Old Virgin. She played the manager at the electronics store.
She's been in a lot of those Christopher Guest.
Yeah, she's
movies.
one of those women you recognize her, but you can't quite figure out where. She's always in those kind of B movies,
Second
like Role
Banana
Models.
kind of. Yeah, exactly.
I think she was in Role Models, which I actually watched with my daughter.
Show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
love her. So I love Glee.
Yeah.
I think that's a great show. It's a little cheesy, but it's so cute.
Yeah, and there's actually been a lot written about Glee, about how it's sort of revitalizing, at a time, not to get too philosophical about Glee, but when there's actually been a lot of cuts to school arts programs. It's actually sort of a positive influence on kids who might want to get involved in theater or choir or whatever, just to encourage their schools to keep those programs open. Okay, I'm just gonna stop.
No, that's good. No, but I do love, and I love, is it Rachel in Glee who was in Spring Awakening?
Yes. She's like a professional Broadway actress.
And the guy who plays Finn,
is he the
Finn? Finn? Does anybody watch the show? Anyway, they were at the the baseball game, the World Series with me, and we did a Stand Up to Cancer ad, and they were with me in the stands when we did a live MasterCard commercial for Stand Up to Cancer, which was cool.
That's cool, definitely.
Yeah, but it's, I like Glee because it's something I can watch with my daughters, especially my daughter Carrie. Ellie's probably working too hard at school to watch Glee, but we watched it online on Hulu. We watched the season finale because I had missed it, and it was just really fun.
Oh, it's a cute show. It's definitely
nice.
You can get into
That's why I do like.
Robert, I see that you're begging, and I will ask it. You get the last question.
Robert,
okay?
is he begging? That's so unappealing, Robert.
No. I've seen you ask this question, and I will ask it as a nice way to wrap things up.
Is it a mean question or a nice question?
No, not at all. Not at all. How do you feel about auto-tunes?
Oh, I love it, especially because they have deemed me one of the best auto-tune singers. I don't know if you've seen my rendition of Very Thin Ice, Very Thin Ice. I think those guys are so clever, and I think I haven't seen. Have they been doing a lot of auto-tunes lately? Because I haven't seen many new ones.
They had like a year-ender.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, they had one that was out. Yeah.
I think they're very creative, very clever. I appreciate that they've used me in some of their videos, and I think it's really funny.
It is funny. Yeah, and they're Brooklyn guys.
Yeah, a couple
they're
of guys
actually from
Brooklyn.
Virginia.
Oh, they are?
Or North Carolina, but they moved up here together. They're brothers. There's a girl who they're either friends
Didn't
with.
Didn't they drop an album? Is that what you call it?
Yeah, their album dropped. Yeah, you down with their album? Oh, good, Robert Tucker. I'm so glad. You know what? I can sleep in peace that I've made your day with a question about auto tunes. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, no. They're good guys. They're definitely good guys.
Just read like talented. 5 of the strangest questions in here. We won't have time to answer them, but we'll end with that.
Oh, God. I'd have to go through and find this. Let me refresh here for a second. Talk amongst yourselves. Talk to your fans while
Okay. Hi, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed our latest Facebook chat. I have fun doing them.
They're fun.
How many people actually
I think George Clooney should interview Katie next time around. I don't think she's going to have any problems with that. Yeah,
I just saw Up in the Air, by the way, which I thought was a fabulous movie. Very depressing, kind of a twist at the end that I didn't expect. I usually pride myself on saying, oh, I bet, she killed him or she was involved with so-and-so. This hit me like a ton of bricks, but I thought it was a really good movie, and I'm actually going to write a notebook about it. And thank you for finding that for me.
Yeah, no problem.
It really did kind of, I think, clue into the zeitgeist of the time.
Yeah.
In terms of people getting laid off.
Who would play you in a Lifetime movie? That's a really good one, actually.
I guess I'd have to find someone who really looks like me. So I don't know. What do you think? Like Angelina Jolie, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Angelina, and you're being interviewed by George Clooney. You got it all right now.
Good. Yeah, got it going on.
All right, guys.
Wait, we don't have any other funny questions? I'm not answering these. Just tell us.
We don't have to. Yeah. Okay, let me see if I can find one more.
Are there any really random? Any really rude questions?
No, actually, a lot of them weren't rude.
Thank you guys for not being rude. I have to say, when I get a rude tweet, it kind of, I know, it kind of upsets me because I think, what's wrong with these people? Why are they so angry, and why do they have to be so nasty?
One person wants to know, I know what this came from because somebody had actually, I think it was on Twitter, wrote about, you used the word bullocks in one of our YouTube videos. I think it was when you were interviewing Tim Geithner in London.
Oh, I did?
I think so. And they were like, do you enjoy British slang? The question.
Apparently I do.
Yeah, apparently you do, yeah.
But I think I must have gotten that from like Love Actually or something, because I don't
bullocks.
Know. Bullocks. Is that it? What does that mean?
That's a word.
Like,
I don't know. It's
darn
like,
it?
Yeah, or like, I don't know, does anybody here know the official?
Bullocks? I don't know.
What's your favorite curse word? We're not going to answer that one.
Yeah, no, please. Don't get me in trouble.
This is degenerating.
Is that it?
I think that's it.
Okay, good.
Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for
everyone
joining us.
if you're at work, get back to work because I don't want you to get in trouble. And can I just say, I hope everyone really has a peaceful, happy holiday with their family and their friends. And for people who are going through difficult times now, I hope you use this as kind of a way to reconnect with all the things that are important. And, you know, it must be really hard for a lot of struggling families this holiday season, not being able to do what they would like to do for their children or their loved ones. And, you know, so I just want you all to know, uncynically, I am totally thinking about people like that. And I think everyone should. If you have a neighbor who's struggling or someone in your life who's having a hard time, you know, just remember it's not intrusive or invasive to reach out to those people and offer a helping hand or do something really kind for those people.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a nice note to end it on, definitely. And maybe it's a lesson that we've learned this decade in general, right, about the value of family and friends as opposed to materialism and things like that.
Yeah, I hope so. I hope so.
That could be one good thing that's come out of what was otherwise, as many people said, a not so great decade, right?
Or as Time Magazine deemed, the decade from hell.
Indeed. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks, Tony, for doing this with me,
as always. Oh, it's always fun, and we love answering all of your questions. Katie's great at sitting here and chatting with you guys. So
quit it some more.
Yeah.
All right, see you later.
See you in the new year.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.